Talking to a group of people the other week, we rather randomly generated a neat example of creative problem solving. As I say, rather randomly, the problem we were addressing was, in what way might we eliminate weight-related problems? Rather grand, ambitious scale of a problem, but nevertheless one that we took on. And the technique we were looking to explore was that of reversal. So the first thing we did was to take the problem definition as originally stated, and then of course we need to reverse it to try and turn the pivot point of the problem and reverse it. So rather than trying to make an issue better, we're trying to make an issue worse. And what we came up with was, in what way might we maximise the obesity problem? We started then to generate a range of ideas, and one in particular that grabbed our fancy was to effectively force feed people bad food. So whatever's bad for you, whether that's a hamburger or a chocolate bar or my personal favourite, the muffin, if you can find a way of force feeding people, probably involving a funnel and a tube, I should imagine, then you can almost guarantee that people would end up being overweight. Key part of the process then, of course, is to take that particular idea and then reverse it back on itself. So we now have a double reversal. We reverse the problem definition, we brainstormed that, we generated a range of ideas, selected the most outrageous, and then chose that for reversal. So reversing that idea, we ended up with the fact that we ought to force feed people healthy foods, which of course is a completely nonsensical idea. How on earth can you do that, even with a funnel? Difficult to imagine how one might achieve that. But playing with the idea of healthy eating, and the idea of forcing people to eat it, we came across the idea of establishing a franchise model for healthy eating. Kind of recognise that on every high street there's a local cafe, and maybe what we ought to be doing is doing some sort of deal, some sort of franchise deal with cafes on high streets, where local members of the public could prepay for a series of healthy eating menus that could be preset. The funding would be subsidised by the government because they're going to be making savings based on NHS savings, quite frankly. There'd be a menu of nutritious meals that would rotate on a regular basis, and of course they'd all be available on the doorstep. And the fact that you paid in advance is effectively the force feeding element, because having paid in advance, you'd be absolutely crazy not to take up the option. And of course the side benefit is that this is also benefiting the high street. You get greater footfall via the high street and get more people using it. So how cool is that? Rather randomly,